Hey, what's going on everyone? We have the meta snapshot for patch 13.21b. This one's going to be a very interesting one because the World Championships are going to be played on it. We're going to go over all the comps, some of the legends that are going to be really popular, and kind of try to navigate this set because it's ending, so we need to make those last minute climbs because that's like what a lot of people try to do. So let's just get right into it. In the S tier, we have the same as last week. We have Demacia as a main comp, and then Ashe is kind of like a very niche comp that's very good. Maybe Ashe should be A tier, and then really the only S is Demacia. But then in the A tier, we have Rouge ReRoll, Vanquishers, Bilgewater, vertical Noxus, so a bit of variety here, some reroll, some forecasts. We have a horizontal comp in Bilgewater, we have a vertical comp in Noxus, Gunner reroll, Shurima, Sorcerers, Rogue, Gunners, Cho'Gath, Neeko, Azir, Challengers, and Demonflare, Swain. And then in the B tier, we drop down the Bastion build, we have Karma there, Noxus, the boss Sett, and then Multicasters and Naafiri in C. For legends, we mainly are going to have Earth, because Earth is just very dominating on this patch when a lot of the top comps, they really like those traits. And then there's probably going to be some Twist of Fate, maybe a tiny bit of Poro, a tiny bit of Ezreal, and then like maybe that's kind of it. Like some people like Caitlyn, some people like Lee Sin if they like to reroll. But I think it's probably going to be like mainly Earth, like not too many other options there. But let's move on into how to play each and every comp. So let's start off with Demacia in the S tier. So Jarvan is going to be the main tank, Fiora going to be the main carry, and then if you get the +1 Demacia, play Mordekaiser. I really wouldn't play this without the +1, and sometimes you can even get +2 Demacia, which just means you want to power level to level 9. It's probably the best comp in the game. I've seen a lot of boards, they hit 9 Demacia, and it doesn't matter if they have no units upgraded, they just win every single round after that, and then eventually you upgrade them and then you win the game. It's like very, very difficult to lose with 9 Demacia, but just keep that in mind. There are a lot of ways to go for it. So for example, if you have 2 Demacia crests already, and then you're picking your last augment, getting one that gives you like an extra slot on your team is really good because it removes the requirement of becoming level 9. Some examples of that is going to be Cursed Crown. Another one's going to be something like Return on Investment. Both of these give you an extra slot in your team, so it saves you around like 80 gold because you don't need to hit level 9 anymore. Because really all you need is a 9 Demacia trait and then you're going to be good to go from there. Demacia gives like pretty much the same resistances as 8 Bastion, but you get like 4 Radiant items, so it's just something that's just really, really good right now. And the units are pretty solid too. So there are a lot of things to go for. Mordekaiser is going to be your main carry. Get RFC or Quicksilver on Mordekaiser and you're going to be good to go. Fiora, BT Titans, Jarvan, going to be full tank items, and then Quinn. If you get Quinn 3-star, go ahead and itemize her up. You don't need Quinn 3-star, but sometimes you just get it so you could itemize her as one of your carries. So someone made fun of me for putting this in the guide. Make sure your carries only get 2 items each so they can get a Radiant item from Demacia. But I was spectating some games at like Master and GM rating, and people accidentally forgot and put 3 items on their main carry on Mordekaiser. They put 3 items on Mordekaiser and then they're like, Poppy got like a Radiant item. So no matter what level you are, just make sure you do not put more than 2 items under Demacia, because that's like the whole point of playing the trait. Someone put Demacia crest on Mordekaiser plus 2 other items and then they just like wasted the trait. So just be very careful whenever you're playing this, no matter what rank you are. Like we all make mistakes, and just try to not have that happen, because that's like kind of the point of playing Demacia, is to get the Radiant items. So now on to the next comp, we have Ashe Reroll. Very situational. If you get Ionia crest, you could just force this, go Sett 3, Ashe 3, and then play the regular Ionia board, and then you cap out your late game with Xayah 2 as well as secondary carry. But only do this with the Ionia spat. So the first 2 S tier comps, you need the spat, but if you do, they're just like so good that even though they're both kind of situational, it's just going to be that powerful. So 2 cost reroll with this comp, so you want to stay level 6, get Sett 3 and Ashe 3, and then after that level up, play as you would normally. Next build up we have is Rouge ReRoll. So this is a reroll comp. This is going to be like kind of a 1, 2, and 3 cost reroll comp. You kind of go for Cho'Gath, Caston, or Vel'Koz, and you want like a +1 Void spat. You don't absolutely need it, but it makes it a lot better. Whereas with the Ionia comp, you like absolutely need the Ionia spat. But if you're going for Cho'Gath reroll and you have items for it, but then you don't hit the other units that belong in the Cho'Gath reroll comp, definitely consider Void reroll, because you have a lot of different carry options that you could kind of play around. So you could do Kai'Sa 2, you could do Vel'Koz 3, you could do Caston 3 as a secondary tank. And if you get +1s, you could go for 8 Void, and 8 Void obviously going to be really good too. Just keep in mind, you don't need everything to be 3-star, so pick and choose which ones you get. If you're hitting a lot of a certain unit, stay the level you need to for that unit, and roll there. But if you don't, move on to the next one and roll at the higher levels. Next up we have is Ionia Vanquishers. This is going to be like the same comp as the Ashe comp, except you don't play Ashe, you play Nilah instead as your carry. I guess it's Nilah and Xayah. Both of them are really good. It still works pretty well with the Ionia spat, but let's say you get an Ionia spat later in the game, then you could drop it on Nilah, and then you can't reroll for Ashe anymore because you leveled up too quickly. This would be kind of like a comp you could kind of play. Good with either the Vanquisher or Ionia emblem, so you have 2 options there. And this comp does like a lot of items because we do have multiple carries, but this is just standard leveling. You're going for 4 costs. Shen, Nilah, Xayah, gonna be pretty decent comp there. Next up we have is Bilgewater Nilah. This comp is very good too, but you need Pandora's items because you want 2 RFCs on Nilah. So it's a little tricky to play right now because most people are not going Twisted Fate. They're going for Earth. So this one is going to drop a little bit this patch. Misfortune's like a decent secondary carry option. She just holds all the AP items. You could go for her 3-star in some games, but mainly you're focusing on Nilah, getting the 2 RFCs on her, and then main tank could almost be anyone. This version we have Sejuani, but there are a lot of different versions of this comp because you could kind of go into any build. Mainly you just want 3 Bilgewater and 2 Vanquisher, and then just add on traits after that. Next build up we have is the Vertical Noxus build. This build is going to be another Mordekaiser build. The only issue is with a lot of Demacia players wanting the Mordekaiser, sometimes he's a little hard to hit, so you have to keep that in mind whenever you're playing this. You could definitely drop in Azir as a secondary carry with the Noxus spat. Azir uses a lot of spatulas pretty well because Strategist kind of fits into a lot of builds because Azir Jarvan is pretty decent. So you could also add Jarvan into this comp if you don't hit Heimerdinger, but just make sure you get some form of magic penetration because that's kind of what Heimer's used for. You definitely do want the +1 Noxus though. I wouldn't say it's unplayable otherwise, but it makes it a ton easier getting stacks in the mid game because stacks are what's important for Noxus, and if you can't get them, then it's not really worth going for. Next build up we have is Gunnar reroll Jinx and Jayce, so you could play this from Piltover, which is pretty solid. Piltover's a little risky, but again, you could get Piltover from the Earth Spatula, and then you could go ahead and reroll for some of the Gunners. So you could do either Jinx or Jayce or both. Main tank can be something like Warwick or Vi. And at this point, down in the meta snapshot, we are going to be like lowering the comps a little bit. Mainly, you want to be playing the ones that we mentioned already. Some of these are going to be situational or backup comps. Like I wouldn't find myself playing Gunnar reroll that often, but in the games that it is pretty viable, it's going to be better than some of the other like standard comps that we see right now, even though it's not in like the forefront of the meta. Next up we have is Shurima. Shurima, vertical Shurima. It's okay, nothing crazy. Azir kind of fell off a little bit, and it's just a really expensive comp because a lot of the units you want are like 4 costs, 5 costs, and then the rest of your units kind of do nothing. Getting a +1 Shurima is really solid, but would I rather have a +1 Demacia? Yes, I would. So if I'm playing Earth, I pop the tome on stage 2, and then I see Demacia, Ionia, Noxus, and then Shurima. Shurima's gonna be like probably my last pick unless I have like a ton of Shurima units on my board. It's still good though, like 4th option is still pretty good because we're kind of comparing it to the best right now because you're not gonna get the best options all the time. So it's a good backup Earth strategy, get the +1, play the board, get Rageblade on Azir, get tank items on Nasus, get tank items on Jarvan, and you're gonna be good to go from there. Next build up we have is Sorcerers. It's another one of those Earth comps, but a little bit weaker, I would say, compared to the ones we went over. But if you have a lot of Sorks in the beginning, go ahead and get the Sork emblem because you can only play what's on your board. Silco is going to be your main carry, and then either RE2 or Vel'Koz 3 is going to be your late game. You definitely need 2 carries going because this comp just isn't going to be that good otherwise. Next build up we have is Rouge ReRoll. Rouge ReRoll got bumped up a little bit. You have a lot of different carry options, and it is going to be the last time that we have backline access traits. They revealed that Sett 10 is going to have no assassins, so that's going to be like a first. So this is going to be the last time for us to play like a comp similar to this. So if that's the type of comp you like, you have to enjoy it now because it just won't happen again in the next set. But maybe they bring it back like way in the future. Next up we have is regular Gunnar build. Only play this if you have Piltover or if you have +1 Gunnar at the start of the game, because if not, there are just much better comps to go for. Piltover is really good, but you have to scout a lot in the early game, and sometimes it could be annoying or intimidating to play for like newer players. But if you're able to scout, then you're going to be good to go. Aphelios main carry, Last Whisper +2 items. That's all you really need on him. Leftover items that you get from the Piltover cash out can be put on pretty much anyone. Ideally the legendaries in the late game, but since you cash out much earlier than the legendaries, put the items on like Jayce, or Vi and then sell them later for like Scion, maybe for like the Gangplank, things like that. Or you get like Jayce 3 and then you're good to go there. The items on him will do just fine. You could also even play 6 Piltover. I've seen that happen, but it's generally going to be 3 Piltover and then Aphelios carry. Next build up we have is Cho Bitem. Is the really fun comp, but you need Cho'Gath 3 really early, and they nerfed it a bunch in the past, so it does feel a bit weaker, but it's definitely still playable. They also nerfed Cassiopeia a bunch, so you go for Cho'Gath, Renekton, and then either Cassiopeia or Malzahar, either or work. They both use the same items. You just put a mana item on them, and then like 2 damage items, or like a Gunblade. And then Cho'Gath, you go for full tank, Bramble, Declaw, Redemption, because you really need the tankiness and sustain on Cho'Gath. There's pretty much no like backup items for that. So only go for this if you have good defensive items and a bunch of Cho'Gaths at the start, and perhaps even like a good reroll augment. And with Bruiser Spatula, or Bruiser +1, it makes it really easy to get to 6 Bruiser, because then you don't need to find Scion, and then this comp becomes infinitely stronger. Next build up we have is Neeko Invokers. This build is really go big or go home, because the difference between Neeko 2, Neeko 3 is just astronomical. Same with Karma 2, Karma 3, but go for Soraka at the start. Soraka is going to be able to stabilize you during stage 3 and 4 and 5, and then in the late game, maybe like late stage 5, early stage 6, that's when you should be hitting your Neeko, perhaps even the Karma if you have enough items for both of them, and then you'll be getting a bunch of first places with this comp, assuming no one is 9 Demacia. But if you don't hit, it's going to be really rough, so make sure you have like a reroll augment or like really big econ in that game. Next build up we have is Azir Flex. This is another Azir build, but Shurima is a bit higher right now because a lot of people are using Earth. If you're playing like a horizontal comp, you don't really need the Earth, because like who cares about 5 strategists? Who really cares about 6 Juggernaut? You want to focus more on the Shurimas because that's what buffs Azir the most. So he just pretty much is left by the wayside because all the other vertical comps just like really outshine this at the moment. Next build up we have is going to be Challengers. So Challengers is going to be a little bit of sleeper comp, I'd say. Like Kai'Sa's actually not bad. Is this comp my first choice comp? No, but since no one goes for Kai'Sa, you could pretty much get her for free and do pretty solidly with this comp. Definitely standard leveling pattern because you want to go for the 4 costs, and getting a bunch of 4 costs, getting a bunch of challengers is going to buff up Kai'Sa the most. And then add in 2 Demacia units to get radiant items on your Fiora, and then Jarvan as your main tank. And Jarvan's just good in general because he AoE stuns the entire enemy team. Next up we have is Demonflare Swain. Only play this with the Demonflare augment. Swain is just going to use a bunch of the tankish bruiser items, and then you have Silco in the back line. Hopefully Swain lives a long time and then Silco burns them all with Morello. I'm actually kind of disappointed in Silco in this set because he just isn't all that strong, but he's kind of like one of those really cool champions that they kind of brought back into the game. So it's a bit of a shame because this is the last like serious patch, because they're going to be coming out with like all the set 10 previews in the next week. So again, if you want to make those last minute climbs, now is going to be the time. After that, we have the B tier. Bastion Aphelios, just like, yeah, not as good anymore. Karma reroll was never good this set. We never even updated the photo because it was just stuck in the B tier for the whole time. Noxus reroll got nerfed too many times, so don't really want to play that. And then the boss set, it's still a bit viable, but like just make sure you have like a ton of sets with it. But he isn't as good as he used to be. In the C tier, we have Multicaster, don't play that. And we have Naafiri reroll, don't play that. We've not seen a single Naafiri reroll patch, which is kind of a shame because like they added a champion that was like a 3 trait, so they're pretty cool, right? But it was just never ever good. So that's a bit unfortunate there. But I think they are lose streaking until set 10. Maybe set 10 is going to be the best set ever. Who knows? I'm going to be playing it a bunch, so I hope it is, because if not, that would be kind of like a little sad, you know? But just to summarize again, go for Earth, go for Demacia, go for Ionia, go for Void, go for Noxus, go for Shurima. One of those is going to hit, right? And if you get none of those, like play one of the backup comps like Sorcerers, maybe even like you could use Bruiser Crest perhaps. Screw it, you can even use like a Challenger Crest to get like a top 4 hopefully. But that's going to be kind of the meta right now. Earth is really dominant, vertical traits are really dominant, and you have to just kind of hit it. I also did my pick'ems for the World Championship, so you can check that video out as well. So let me know what you think of the comps and if you're going to be watching this weekend.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.